This is Mavis Kanye for the Black Middletown Project. This is the second session. You said that you were from Ghent, Kentucky?
That's right.
Okay. And what year did you come to Muncie?
1904.
And you were how old at that time?
Three years. Born 1901. My dad moved here to work.
Okay. What household things did your family bring when they came? Do you know?
No, I don't, because they lived in Peru, Indiana, before they came here.
Mm-hmm.
They moved from Ghent to Peru. And I don't know, I was too small to know what they had in there. But the houses were made out of old boxcars. And, well, there was a foundry there, and the men worked in the foundry, you know, and they made these houses out of old boxcars. But I don't remember anything really about Peru.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who was here when your parents arrived?
There was a family named Duval that had moved here from Peru. They had moved here from, moved to Ghent from Peru. I mean from Ghent to Peru. And then they moved over here before my dad came, so he was always, Mr. Duval was kind of a leader, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he came here and got a job at Whiteley, Malvern, and well, there were several of them came after that. But I don't remember too much about them because I was too young, really.
Mm-hmm. You said Mr. Duval was a leader? You mean that he just led your father? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He wasn't the head of an organization?
No, I didn't have an organization. I just...
Okay. How did your parents travel here? Do you know that?
Train.
On the train.
See, run through Peru and on here and on in Cincinnati. I did at that time.
What kind of work did your father do when he first arrived?
He worked at the Malibu, Whiteley Malibu, at the, the castings, the iron, made iron casting.
Okay. Did your mother work?
No.
When you were of age, what jobs did you get?
Well, I went to work. My first real job was at Ball Brothers Glass Factory.
Mm-hmm.
I was 14 years old. But I worked during the summer and then went to school in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on Saturdays in the winter time,
and after Ball Brothers, where did you go to work?
Let me see, the first, the real job I had was at Hook's drugstore. That was named Mulberry at that time. I worked there for, I think it was about 7 or 8 years, I'm not sure.
And after that?
Well, I went back Ball Brothers. I've had several jobs in Muncie, but I always went back to Ball Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of the job, I had to go there, and I always had a job. So.
Why did you go back to Ball Brothers for any particular reason?
No, just to have a job.
Just to go back?
Just to have a job. Because, from the time I was 14, I don't think I was out of a job. More than 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that you were held back on your job because of your race? Did you ever feel that way?
Well, no. Of course, the only reason it was really held back was an education.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have an education, didn't have enough education to be something great.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that if you had had the opportunity to get a better education, that you would not have been held back regardless of your race?
No, at one time here, where you could go most anywhere in Muncie and be served. When I was, I'd say when I was 14 or 15, where you could go most anywhere and be served. But that, along about that time, why things tightened up here, and it got so you couldn't go anywhere. Black man couldn't go in the restaurants and eat. You couldn't go. Well, it got so bad that they couldn't go to the show, the nickel shows, and they had 25-cent shows too. You couldn't go there, and then that didn't last long. But what happened is they set a section aside for black people. Now, if they went to the shows, they had to sit in that section. And, at that particular time, it got pretty well filled up with Ku Klux, because they had a governor. Zion elected a governor in Indiana, and Ku Klux governor, and things.
What was his name?
I'll tell you in a minute. I know it. He just got out of prison about 2 years ago. Well, he killed a woman over in Indianapolis, and they sent him to prison. He just got out a couple of years ago. I'll think of it.
Okay,
The next time I think of it, I'll write it down.
Okay, we'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
On your job, did you get exactly the same work a white person did?
Yes, it's about the same.
Did you get the same pay?
Yeah, about the same pay, because there were a lot of youngsters worked where I did out at Ball Brothers, and then we all got the same pay. And of course, there were different jobs that were supposed to be they call it together, and oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
They got the high money, and but they were black ones. And there wasn't any gathers. They belonged to the Union. They belonged to the Union. They were all white, but it got to the place where they were black, what they call pressure. And they got the same as the white ones did.
What about foreigners? Were there many people from other countries here in Muncie at that time?
At that time, there weren't too many. I was trying to think a group of people that were foreign, you know. They usually stayed together when they came to this country, you know. But I don't think of any particular group that there were a lot of Germans and there were a lot of Italians and working in these factories around here, and they brought in quite a few black ones. They would go to Cincinnati and call them shipping them up here, you know. They'd ride transportation. They'd go down there and get them, guarantee them a job when they got here, and bring them up here. And well, Ball Brothers, and then Muncie Founder. Had a founder, we really called Muncie Founder, where they would go to St. Louis, Cincinnati, and bring workmen here.
Did you get training on your job that helped you to get promoted?
No, there wasn't a whole lot of training, because anybody could do the job, you know. And there wasn't any real training, because you had to, they'd open the mold and set the hot jar down on a buck, what they call a buck, and you had to get it to the layer, carry it in. Well, they had forks that you put in there and carried it and put it in the layer. It wasn't a whole lot of skill, you know.
Well, what did you do if you wanted to get more pay or move up on a job?
Usually you went and got another job. Yeah, you had to go somewhere else to get a job that paid a little more than the job that you had.
What was the name of the school you attended?
Longfellow.
Longfellow? And where was that located?
Broadway and Highland, where the Bewley Center is now.
Could you describe your school for me?
Well,
About how many students?
There was, when I started school, there were 8 rooms. It was a brick school. They had just built it. The year before I started school, of course, my sister, she went to school where Shafer Chapel is now. And there was a building there that, but she went there as long as, you know, before I went.
What was the name of that school by Shafer Chapel?
It was Longfellow.
Oh, that was Longfellow also.
They just transferred it from one place to the other. And of course, there was building at the corner of it was on this same street, but it was right catty-corner across the street from where the new school building is. At that particular time, they didn't have, I would imagine that they only had 50 or 60 children there at that time.
Was it integrated?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about your education? You said that you had to stop going to school because you had to work, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think much about it at that time. I thought it was all right. That's what most of them were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, of course, I didn't realize, about preparing for college and things like that, because I didn't have the thoughts of even going to college. So, as long as you had a job, why, that was good enough.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of students dropped out of school.
Yeah. They couldn't drop out and not go to school until they were 14. You had to go to school till you were 14.
Mm-hmm. What subjects did you study?
Oh, just wasn't anything special. You took reading and writing and arithmetic and well, they even had a music teacher. And let's see, there was another specialty. We had a special teacher. But I don't remember now.
Did you read any books about blacks?
Yes.
Can you remember the names of any of the books you read?
Let me see. No, I don't think I remember any particular book that I read. Pertaining to black.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember in general? Like, maybe you might not remember the name of the book, but...
Yeah, well, there were some books that I read. Of course, most of them were novels that you could get out of the library.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember reading any books about blacks while you were in school? Books from school?
No, I didn't have much in them about blacks there per se, Of course, we realized that a lot of the people that were working were blacks, but they didn't even tell you that they were blacks. Of course, where in these big steel mills, well, they organized a big steel mill here in Gary, and you didn't realize that just about half of those men working in the steel mills were black.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh, you didn't realize that quite a few of them were black. Of course, they had went down south and shipped them up here to work in the mills, and of course they just learned their trade from working with somebody that knew how to do it. But there were quite a few blacks, and Well, we realized all of that because it was thrown with people from those areas.
Did whites discourage the education of black people?
Well, I don't think they encouraged it. I really don't believe that they encouraged it. Of course, there were black colleges, Booker T. Washington College, you know, and Howard University was black. Mahara was a black school for doctors. And we realized all those things, but that was beyond really, unless your parents were making enough money to send you, why you didn't get to go. So you couldn't make enough money yourself and go to school.
Do you remember the name of any other black colleges that you heard about when you were growing up?
Well, I think everybody knew mostly about Tuskegee. And everybody knew about Howard University, but it was more or less out of your mind because you knew you'd never get to go there unless something happened.
Were your teachers black or white?
All the teachers in school here were white.
Did you go to school with a particular job in mind? Did you go to school to think that maybe one day you'd be?
I always wanted to be a doctor, but that was just a figment of imagination.
So, did your schooling help you get the job that you had at Ball Brothers?
No, it was.
Did your schooling help you get a job better than blacks with less schooling?
I really don't believe so.
Did many who graduated from grade school go on to study in high school?
Well, there were a few. I was just talking to a fellow here the other day that, well, I went all through grade school with him, and went to high school for a while. Of course, he was a couple of years older than I was, and he went out for basketball, you know. Of course, he got to be pretty good, but they wouldn't let him play as a regular. He was just, you know, more or less practice with them. And then the lawyer came along. He decided he was going to have Harvey play on the regular team. Well, he worked it up to that point, but Harvey got to play just every now and then.
What was his last name?
Scott.
Harvey Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Does he still live in Muncie?
Yes, he lives over here on this next street down here.
Okay. I'd like to get in touch with him and talk to him.
Well, I expect he could tell you a whole lot of things too, because he stayed here in Muncie. He went away to school for a while, but he didn't make it, you know. He came back here.
Did you have any children?
No.
So how many years of schooling did you finish?
Well, let's see, 6 and 2 would be 8. I graduated from grade school ahead of time. I went to high school 2 years, maybe 2.5.
Around what year did most of us stop?
Most of them stopped when they were 13 or 14.
Did your parents go to school?
My mother did, but my father he didn't have any schooling at all. My mother, well, her mother was half white. Was somebody.
Oh, you were telling me how much education your mother had.
Well, they sent her to, her mother was raised inside. She was a slave, but she was raised inside, and they sent her to school. And of course, she in turn seen that her daughter got to go to school. And they sent her to Louisville. I think it was Kentucky State College. I really believe that's what it was. I'm not sure what it was, but they sent her there, and I guess it was like a boarding school. She went, I think, I don't know how long she went. I think she went about 3 years. And then she was eligible to come back to her home and teach. And of course, I don't know how long she taught. I never heard anybody say. My sister may know how long she taught school, but she had a little better education than average. And she in turn sent my sister to Louisville. It was a boarding college is what it was.
Which blacks were most likely to go to college, would you say? The children of laborers, businessmen, ministers, domestics?
Ministers, more than likely, more ministers' children went to school. And I guess there were some of the laborers that were in some of these mills that made pretty good money. I think they sent their children away to school. But other than that, there was very little schooling that black people got up until, I imagine
Okay.
There was a girl who lived out on 12th Street, Hope, Agnes Hope. Her father worked at Ball Brothers, and he sent her away to school. I don't know whether she finished college or not, but there wasn't there really anything for her to do when she got back here, you know. There wasn't no school for her to teach or anything like that. And
did she stay here?
no, she went down in southern Illinois, now Illinois. There were a lot of colored people down there. And I was trying to think that something happened to her here in the last month or so. Well, maybe some of the rest of them know what did happen.
What was your transportation to school? How did you get there? Did you
Walked.
walk? How far away was the school from where you lived?
Let's see. There were 9 blocks from where I lived when I went to grade school. Then when I went to high school, it was uptown. It was, you know where the Ball Brothers building is. It was there. And you had to walk from Kirk Street, from 9th Street, to school. That was a good little walk, you know. I'm not sure how many squares, but...
Were you punished in school?
I think I got one where they paddled me then.
Well, why were you punished?
Fool with a white guy. No. No, the girl sat back of me. They were all, well, they were all of them were really nice, but I'd always been playing with her, you know. She took a ribbon off her hair and laid it across the desk, and I reached back and got it and pulled it, and the principal happened to be standing outside looking in. And he'd come in and give me a paddling.
Did you ever feel like the black students were punished more than the white?
No, I don't believe so in our group. I don't believe so, because they punish them white ones just as quick as they would the black ones.
Can you think of any black families where the entire family worked for one white family over the years?
Let's see. I really don't remember any black families here, but
where just about every member of the family worked for a white family.
Same white people. There were a good many of my family who worked for one white family, as they came along, you know.
So that would be the Balls?
Family, they worked for man. He lived right out of Louisville, Kentucky. And all of them that was around there, you know, they were just like I was about going to Paul Brothers. As they got up old enough, they'd go out there and work for them. And I'll have to.
Well, do you know of any situations like that in Muncie?
No, I don't. No, I really don't.
Why did blacks lose their jobs?
Lose a job.
Lose their jobs.
Oh, well, most of them, they would probably do something, because I don't remember a whole lot of them losing their job, really. Yeah. Unless they got dissatisfied and want to move away or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't no big thing that, you know, they fired them just because it was black and all that. I don't think they did that.
Did you or many black workers have black bosses?
Yeah, there was usually on, well, especially at Ball Brothers, on every shift, there was a black leader. And he got a little more than the rest of them did. But on gas, where they made gas and all like that, those were black jobs. And they usually had a black foreman.
Did you or other black workers prefer to work for a black boss or a white boss?
It wasn't much different. Of course, my father, he worked up to be boss before he retired, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just because he had worked there so long and knew ins and outs and everything. But he didn't have an education either.
Do you know of any blacks that managed white businesses where the owner was actually white and they had black managers?
No, I don't believe I do. I don't believe I know of him.
Were there any black doctors, dentists, nurses, or midwives?
Yeah, black dentists came here. Dr. Brooks, he came here from school, and there were several physicians that came here.
Remember the names?
I had to give that some thought too. And I think I would write them down, because there were several physicians here, in and out of here. And course, naturally, most Negroes went to these colored physicians and dentists.
Do you remember any nurses or midwives?
Yeah, there was White. Her last name was White. She was a nurse and what you call a midwife, you know. Or she helped my sister when she gave birth to her boy. And of course she worked here for a long time out of the hospital and around in private families, you know. That's what they call her, Nurse White. I forget what her first name was.
And you said that most of black people went to the black doctor?
Yeah. Of course, there was some of them that didn't go and went on to white doctors.
Do you know why?
No. It's just a feeling I imagine that some of them had. Well, I imagine some of them had the feeling that the black doctors and dentists didn't know what they were doing. But a lot of them become outstanding, went somewhere else and became outstanding.
What were the major causes of death? Was it sickness or accident?
Well, a lot of them had TB. I guess there was a lot of white people at that time had TB. They didn't know how to treat it. Of course, it got to the place where they put them segregated them, you know. White and black. If you had TB, you went to the pest house, they call it. That was probably caused from the lack of right vitamins and things that they eat.
At what age did most black people die back in those days?
Well, I guess most of them died early as the 50s, you know. You very seldom see black people much over 50.
What was your basic diet? What kind of food did you eat?
Pork. No, a lot of people ate beef, but a lot of them ate fowl, you know, chicken, turkey, things like that, and a lot of them ate pork because it was easy raised. I remember was buying a hog myself when I was a youngster. Paid $3 for it.
Oh.
And where we live, the street wasn't cut through. It just, bushes and things where the street should have been. And we had a hog pen out there in the street, And my dad always raised 2-3 hogs to be killed, butchered.
So did you grow a lot of your food?
Yeah, I always had a garden and we grew a lot of food.
Did you hunt?
Well, my dad didn't do much hunting, but when I got big enough myself, I would go hunting a lot, rabbit hunting and like that.
And where was this house? Where you had the farm?
Right here.
Where did you shop for food?
Well, there were, let's see, there was Pittenger's Grocery, Bonner's Grocery, and
in the early days, how many rooms were there in your home?
to start with, there was 4.
Mm-hmm.
But they added on to it and got it up to 8.
And how many people lived there?
Well, my mother and father and my sister, myself, and I had 2 cousins that my mother and father raised. That was all of our family.
How did you get your household furnishings?
I had to buy.
Was it easy to get credit in those days? Did you buy furniture on credit?
Yes, we bought furniture on credit. It wasn't too difficult if you had a history of working.
Did any black people use alcohol and drugs back in those days?
An awful lot of them used alcohol, but I never heard of anybody using drugs. There's an awful lot of people that used alcohol because that was just natural. I don't know why, but but you didn't see no whole lot of drunkards, staggering around. Or they usually went home and drank it and got too much and went to bed.
How did they get it?
Well, they bought most of it.
What about when it was illegal?
Well, we bought it then, bought it up in Ohio. Yeah, I went and hauled it, Bring back 15, 20 gallons. There were more than a family. It was a whole, most of them were German. Up here, right out of Union City. Well, part of the land was in Ohio and part in Indiana, but they made some awful good whiskey.
So you used to haul liquor back?
Yeah. Well, whenever I went up there, I just bring back as much as I could, you know.
Did you know of anybody else who did it?
Help them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, of course. Usually, if I went up there, there's always somebody wanted me to bring me 2 gallons, bring me so much and so much. And
So you had a little business going?
well, I wasn't that type, you know. I could have made money, but if I went up there, and they give me money to get it with, that was it. I just brought it back and give it to them. That was it, because I was going. And I never did make a business out of it. Of course, there were 2 or 3 fellows that did kind of make a business out of it, but they never got anywhere with it.
Do you remember their names?
Jones, what was his first name? His last name was Jones. Andy Jones.
Is he still in Muncie?
No, he's dead. And Dan Keith, he's dead. But they never made a fortune or anything, you know. Whenever they was going, like, they'd get as much money as they had. If you give them the money, well, they'd bring it back.
Why did you happen to go up that way?
Well, people got to go up there and buy the whiskey, you know, and find out it was really good whiskey. Well, they made it right up there. And
so, I mean, you weren't working up there, and you would just go up and...
just go up there. My dad had an automobile at that time. He was I don't suppose it was over a half dozen people that had an automobile when he bought his. But he never did learn to drive. And all the driving fell on me.
You remember what kind of automobile he had?
Buick. 1916 Buick. 4-cylinder. And we kept it a long time. And not too awful long, because we got it, I think, in about 1918. And I think the next car he got was a 28. He bought that new.
Where were blacks buried?
Where blacks buried?
Yeah, where was the cemetery there?
They buried them out here. The same cemetery that's out here now. They didn't have any special burial place for them. They're all over this cemetery out here now. You can go there now and find, tombstones and people that lived here all 50 years ago. difference in where we could get a lot, why you bury them.
So it's not a black cemetery? It's just everybody?
Beach Grove.
Were there any conjurers or healers back in those days?
Yeah, they were.
You remember who they were?
No. Not in particular. There was a fellow I used to work with, and he came from New Orleans. Green, his name was Green, but he believed in that. But I never believed that it would work.
So you never went to him?
No, well, he worked with me for several years, but I just didn't believe in it. But Green, he swore by it.
Did any white people go to the conjurers?
Not that I know of. He may have had some white friends, but no, I didn't know
of. Does he still live in Muncie?
No, he's dead.
Do you know if any of his family is still here?
No, because his family was from Kentucky, and he came to Hamilton to work in the asphalt paving company. That's where I got to know him. And he himself, he never did live in Muncie. He lived in Hamilton.
Oh, okay. So you don't know of any conjurers or healers in Muncie? Where were black people hospitalized?
Paul Memorial, it had the name of a home hospital. It was right on Mulberry Street. When we knew anything about a hospital, that was the only hospital, home hospital, and that's where you went if you got sick.
Were there any all-black hospitals or rest homes, nursing homes? How was blacks hospitalized? Was it segregation?
Yeah, it was segregated. They tried to keep them segregated, but sometimes it was impossible. But they didn't make no big thing out of it. They just tried to keep it segregated. And when they built a new hospital out here where it is now, why, they tried to keep them segregated to a certain extent. But if they got in a pinch, they put black and white in the same room. Never really anything done about it.
What were some of the best home remedies back in those days? Do you know any?
No.
Did your mother have any?
Yeah, she always had something for anything you had wrong with it. Yeah. I don't remember recalling any particular one.
So So you didn't use them, but she used them on you.
Yeah.
Did they work?
Yeah, most of them did.
But you don't use any now.
Mm-mm.
In the old days, how did people feel about the physically handicapped?
Well, they tried to hide them, really. That's what happened. If they were physically handicapped, why they weren't seen too much of.
Do you remember any people who were in a wheelchair or who were blind, deaf, paralyzed?
Well, to name them, I couldn't name. But I do know that some of them had to get around in a wheelchair, but you didn't see them very much. They usually kept them.
So, did people... So, handicapped people were mainly cared for by their families. They didn't have any homes.
Well, they had what they called at that time poor farm. County home, that's what it was. And there were several people out there that were handicapped, you know. In fact, there was a colored boy that all practically half his life was spent out there.
Do you remember where that was?
County home was out here on East Jackson Street. It's still there now. But Sam Jackson was the boy's name. He was well, he couldn't walk very well, and his arms were partially paralyzed.
Okay.
He stayed out there a good bit of his life.
Who were the black leaders in the nation at that time? Do you remember Marcus Garvey movement?
Yeah, I knew about Marcus Garvey. And of course, the man before Marcus Garvey that had the school down there, Booker T. Washington, I knew about him. And Carter, I knew about him. And they're more or less outstanding because they had something to offer. And Carter, he did a lot. People will never know that he did with the peanuts, you know. And I imagine that Carter's family would never have been where they are if it hadn't been for Carter. I mean, yeah, his name was Carter.
Did you agree with those leaders at that time, Garvey and...
Yeah, because that's all I knew. That's all I knew.
Do you remember what they represented?
Well, didn't know the titles that they gave them, but they were well liked, by people reading about them.
Did you join any black political groups such as NAACP or the Marcus Garvey group?
Well, I joined the NAACP, and I never did join Marcus Garvey group. There was a group called Woodman.
The what?
Woodman.
Woodman?
They used axes in place of a gun while they marched, with axes. And, of course, Marcus Garvey, he tried to take the black man back to Africa.
Were you a member of the Woodman group?
Yeah, I belonged to this for a while. Of course, it came out of the West. But they never did make any headway of getting the black people together to do anything special for themselves. Just more or less name. They had it was more or less like a lodge, because they had in every city they could get in, they had a group.
Did you or any member of your family ever serve in the military?
No. They all ducked it.
How did you feel about black men having to go to the military?
Well, I thought it was something great, because I couldn't go. Yeah, I tried several times to enlist in the First World War, It was just at a particular time. I was only 17, and the recruiting officer knew me because I'd worked at the hotel, when he was here at the Silver Hotel, and he knew me. And there was, I think there were 6 of us went up to join to sign up one day, and he signed them all up, When it come to my name, tossed it back on the desk. And we got through talking to everybody. You're going to have to go out with me and have your dad sign this. I done told him I was 18, but I wasn't 17. So I told him, well, there ain't no need to go, because he ain't going to sign it. And by the time I got 18 where I could join myself, the war was over. And they wasn't taking any recruits, unless they'd been soldiers.
Did you vote?
Yeah, I voted when I got old enough. Yeah.
Did any blacks or whites try to stop you or other blacks from voting?
Never did.
You say you were a committeeman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precinct minimum.
Ron, what year was this?
Let's see. Oh, it was about 24, I think, so 30, about 32, somewhere along
Do you feel there were any shady dealings between white and black politicians?
there. Well, I don't think there was too much, really.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think there was too much.
Who were the local black leaders?
Well, politically, a fellow by the name of Wick Adams, he'd been politician all of his, ever since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is he still around?
no, he's dead.
Can you think of any others?
Yeah, let me see. Well, Dr. Brooks, he dabbled in, he was a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
He dabbled in it for a while. Willie Folks, oh, I expect you've heard of him. He was precinct commitment over in 20. And and my wife and I were, she was my vice as long as I was precinct commitment.
Mm-hmm. What was the duty? What were your duties as a precinct committee?
Well, you organized the people, and they usually gave you some kind of a recognition, a job, where you could come in contact with people. See, of course, my wife was tax assessor, and well, she had several jobs. She worked at the courthouse for us in
Right. You were telling me about your duties as a committeeman.
Well, you went around and talked to them, see if you could get them to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, one time out here we had 1,500 registered voters, and it was in this neighborhood, you know, this block around, and we got at one time we got 1,100 Republican votes out of this precinct, so most of them were Republican.
So, were you paid for this job, or?
Well, you wasn't exactly paid, but there's always something come along where you get a little job doing things, and they, of course, my wife, she got a steady job. She had a steady job for quite a few years.
So if your man got elected to office,
You always got to, of course, she worked for evening press with a reporter, and she kept that job. Well, I think Parks, he just died this last week. Do you remember seeing where Parks died here in Muncie Press? Well, he always seen that she had a job somewhere up there in the press office.
And what was your wife's name?
Georgia.
Georgia. Were your grandparents slaves? You said that your grandmother was half white.
Mm-hmm.
What about your grandfather?
Well, I really don't know about my grandfather on my mother's side, but my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side, they were slaves, and they came out of Virginia and settled up in Kentucky. The old folk, the white folks, and they brought my grandfather with them, and when they got up there in Virginia, in Kentucky, seemed like some of them died, and the women that were left, they gave the land away, gave it to the slaves, and of course my grandfather, he moved away and didn't pay the tax on it, and that's the way it got out of their hands.
Did they tell you any stories about slavery?
Mm-hmm. Grandfather used to sit down at night, unwind some off his yarn. And I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in a lot of it that he told me, but I guess it was just about right, though. Living on down through the years, I see where it could have been just about like he said.
Well, maybe I can come back another time and you can tell me about his story.
Mm-hmm.
How were household servants treated by their employers around in this area?
Well, of course, around here in Indiana, they didn't have the slaves. See, that was free. Indiana was free, and they had underground railroad, that took the slaves from Kentucky on up into Canada and all of them that way. But that's... Can you hear?
Mm-hmm. I was asking you about the household servants around the time when you came to Muncie.
Housework?
Uh-huh.
Well, most all of the wealthier ones had colored help. And there usually was plenty of jobs for colored women, cooking, washing, cleaning, carry on.
How were they treated by the employers?
Most of them are treated real good after they got used to them and found them out, if they were honest, and well, they'd go overboard.
How were public facilities back then? The parks and restaurants?
Parks and things they had.
Oh, I was asking you about the parks and restaurants. Were they segregated?
Yeah, the parks were to an extent segregated. McCullough Park, of course. You could go to Heaton Park and go most any place in there, but you weren't supposed to cross over the drive out here in this park, but of course a lot of them did. Well, they had to go across there to go to the ball game, you know, and all like that. But you weren't supposed to go over there and spread your dinner or anything.
And what about the buses and the movie theaters?
Well, like I told you before, that it was up to a time it wasn't anything said, but all at once they quit letting you go to the shows. If you went, you had to sit in a restricted area, and of course the buses, there weren't too many buses there, and one of them was a colored man that drove the bus. You know, he had a bus come out here in Whiteley, and they didn't raise too much cane about the bus business, because you better get wound up when people come back after you.
Who decided the rules for the family in the old days?
Man.
Man.
And the man. That was a must. Really.
And your father decided the rules.
Uh-huh. Of course, I expect my mother had a lot to do with it, but in a subtle way, they know how to handle a man. But
who disciplined the children?
My mother. We got more whippings from my mother than. Yeah. Yeah, she'd tear you up, boy. He hit you too.
Yeah, I get you.
Hit you 2-3 lips.
Mother started then, that was it.
And Dad hit you 2-3. Hush, hush, hush. Your mother, when she got hold of you, you knew she'd been there.
Did you know any blacks and whites who married or lived together back in those days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a white man and a black woman lived 2 streets over. They lived there as long as I can remember.
Are they still there?
No, they're both dead.
Mm-hmm. How did the black community feel about that?
They accepted it, but I don't know. They never did have any trouble about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what their name was? You remember what name was that lived there?
Where? In Kentucky?
No, right down here on no. Oh. The next street, and then the next street over. He lived down in that hollow down there. And, I'll remember it.
How did the white community feel about that?
They never did bother.
Never bothered?
Never did bother them. They lived there all their life. I mean, you know, as long as I can remember. And,
Did many of your relatives live nearby, or were they far away?
I never heard of any of the relatives. They must have been away some. I never heard of anybody that was a relation to them.
What about your relatives? Did your relatives live near you?
Yeah, most of them lived 5 blocks. Well, that's where I was raised over there, but after I moved down in this neighborhood, why?
Where were you married?
Hamilton, Ohio.
Hamilton?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you meet your wife?
Well, I'd been away working. I came home Christmas and they had a party down there, Ernest Ellis' place, and I met her there. That was Christmas. And 22nd of May we was married.
Didn't wait too long, did it?
Married 22nd of May.
Do you remember who married you?
Reverend Thomas. Yeah, Reverend Thomas.
And where was this?
Calvary. He married us. No, wait a minute. I married in Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
So I was trying to get that in there, but it didn't happen that way. So I had to tell a lie about my age.
Oh, how old were you?
20.
Mm-hmm.
But in Ohio, you had to be 21 without consent from your parents. So I was 21.
How did the people in your family feel about divorce?
Well, there never was much divorce in our family. I don't know. Well, one of my cousins that my mother raised, she got a divorce after they moved out in California. But other than that, I don't. Yes, my sister got a divorce from her first husband.
She remarried?
Yeah. Well, her second wife, husband, they lived together a long time. He died before she did.
When you were growing up, was there respect for the elderly?
Yes, pretty much, definitely, because, you call them Mr. and Mrs., and if they wasn't Mr. and Mrs., they was Uncle and Aunt, and they may not even been any kin to you, but...
Did most men stay with their families, or did they leave?
Well, I think most of them that we knew or come in contact with stayed with their families. Of course, there are always some that don't, but most that we knew, they made it out some way or another.
For the men that left their families, why would you say? What were some of the reasons they would leave?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of reasons, but usually there's some other woman or, got infatuated with somebody else.
What holidays were observed back in the days?
Christmas was a big holiday. Christmas, New Year, and Easter was a very good big holiday. And I guess you'd say 4th of July, because everybody tried to have something going on 4th of July.
Would you say they were celebrated a lot differently from the way they are now?
I don't think they are. Not a great deal, because usually all those holidays they get together and have something to eat. They always have a dinner somewhere at somebody's house. And it's just practically about the same, it seemed to me. Right?
Were there many family reunions?
Well, there were quite a few. Yeah, there were quite a few reunions. We usually tried to have a family reunion during the summer. There wasn't any particular holiday but we usually tried to have a reunion.
At what age did most children leave home and start assuming responsibility for themselves? Okay.
When I came along, they weren't marrying as young as these kids are now. And usually they went until they was of age, Well, there were some states where you could marry earlier than you did in Indiana and Ohio. You had to be 21 without consent.
So most children stayed home until they got married?
Usually.
How were children's names chosen?
I don't know. I really don't know about that.
Okay.
I was named for my grandfather.
In the old days, did you and your family attend church?
Yeah, that was a must. That was a must.
And what church did you attend?
Calvary.
Calvary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Baptist.
Baptist, Calvary Baptist. Mm-hmm.
How frequently did your church have services?
They had services every Sunday. And, well, they usually had prayer meeting and maybe some kind of club meetings in the evening during the week.
So did your family have devotionals?
Yeah, they went quite often. My mother, my sister, more than my dad, because he worked nights a lot of times.
Tell me some of the things your church did for the community in the old days.
Well, if anyone got destitute, why, they usually try to take up a collection and give them something, Of course, I don't know whether they had sick committee or not, you know. But I don't remember about anything like that. If they took up a collection, everybody tried to give a little something.
Were there any programs for the youth?
Yeah, there were youth programs, but and NAACP was very active, you know. They had programs for, well, most of them were for youth.
Was there any violence against blacks in your community?
Not that I ever knew of any violence. They took a man out and worked him one night. The Ku Klux did.
What was he supposed to have done?
Had a white woman.
What would you say were the major fears of black people back in those days?
Really, they didn't fear. They didn't fear white people like you'd have thought they were, because there was so many more white people than there were black people. I don't remember them ever being afraid of the white people. They'd have these Klan rallies. I've seen 2,000 people down here in the McCullough Park. But Negroes passed right on through them and went on where they're going and didn't say nothing. They never bothered.
How did you feel about the police? How did most black people feel about the police?
Well, they had respect for them, because they had they had 3 or 4 black police as long as I can remember.
What were their names, you remember?
Bill Sims and he was on there a long time.
Where were they assigned to work? Did they have any special?
No, they usually assigned them south of the railroad. That is, of course, they came out here to the park and all around. Their regular assignment was usually south of the railroad. They usually had anywhere from 4 to 6 at all times, you know, from the time that they had the black police.
Why were they assigned south of the railroad?
Well, most of the crime was in that area. They had gambling houses, and they had some other houses, and all was in that area.
What was the attitude toward black police?
It was usually pretty good. Charles O'Geese, that was one of them's name.
What's the last name?
Ogies.
Ogie.
Mm-hmm. He was kind of the bad one. He'd whip them pigs. One of them hadn't done something to him too.
Mm-hmm.
One of them come down there and get smart. He got that stick across his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Miller was another police.
Ellery?
Miller.
Miller. Oh, Miller.
Mm-hmm.
What were the major illegal activities in the black community?
Gambling.
Gambling
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and whiskey, right?
yeah, gambling and whiskey.
Were these illegal businesses owned by blacks, or
Some of them were, some of them weren't. Some of them were white.
some of them were owned by whites?
Mhm.
Were there any that were owned by whites and run by blacks?
Well, some of them were that way, you know, run by blacks, but they usually took care of their own, you know, blacks if they was in that business, they're looking out for.
Did black people have pride in themselves in those days?
I really believe that they did, yeah.
How did they feel about being colored?
Well, I don't know how they felt according to my feelings. It wasn't nothing you could do about it. You was colored and you made the best of it that you could. See, if you got along with white people, good. If you didn't get along with them, you left them alone.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about being called black today?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. You are different, and for my part, I don't mind it. But a lot of them resented being called black. But I'd rather be called black than nigger.
What do you prefer between, say, being called colored or Negro or black?
I think I'd be just well off by being black. Because they're black and white, because you call them white, and they're not all white. But you call them black, and they're not all black. It's just.
How do you feel about being called an Afro-American?
Well, that really doesn't have any meaning for me. It really doesn't have any meaning, really, because there's so many black ones over there now that they're not recognized. South Africa especially, you know. And I don't understand why they can't get that thing straightened out over there either. Because there's more black ones over there than there are white. In both South Africa and what is it they call it now? Whatever it is they call it now. But they're in both those countries, they're 2 or 3 to 1 black people, and they're ruled by the white people.
Have you ever heard of the Afro-American newspaper?
Well, of course, they had a paper here called Afro-American, but it was run by Negroes here. I guess I don't know about South African and
No, I'm talking about here.
here.
The Afro-American newspaper.
Yeah, well, they had an Afro. It was printed in Pittsburgh, I think.
What about the Black Star Press? You ever heard of that newspaper?
Yeah, I've heard of that. That was on. I don't know. It seemed like it was in Baltimore.
What about the Chicago Defender?
Yeah, I knew that.
And the Journal and Guide? You ever hear about that one? Nope. Did you read the black newspapers?
Yeah, I always took them. Just the last year or two that I haven't taken some of them. Indianapolis Recorder.
Which one?
Indianapolis Recorder. See, that was closest here, a big newspaper here, and we usually took the Recorder.
How did you get?
They sent it to you by mail. If you, in the last 3-4 years, Garrett's daughter come around and passed it, you know. But she has evidently quit that because she hadn't been here for several months. And I always took it from her.
What's her name? Well, wait, would you say her name was Garrett?
Yeah.
Garrett?
Hubert Garrett's daughter.
Oh, okay. In the old days, did people talk about Africa? In the old days?
Yeah, some of them did, but very few knew what they was talking about either. Really.
What kind of things did they say about Africa?
Well, they didn't have a clear idea of what it really meant. Alex Selassie, he become big, but they didn't want people to know what he really was and what he stood for.
Were many Negroes angry or ashamed about Africa?
Yeah, I think there was quite a few of them who were ashamed of what happened there.
Did you ever think about Africa as a homeland?
A homeland? No, I didn't have any. I never had any pipe dreams about going over there, trying to straighten them people out. But it would have been, of course, at one time they had a colony that went from here to Africa, but they went on rubber plantation. Goodyear, I guess, was. I don't remember just all about it, but there were a good many people from here that went over there. but they never could make a go of it some way or another.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that black people have pride today?
Yeah, they have a certain amount of pride. But I don't think they have the pride that they should have. But it's been a difficult thing for them.
Do you think it's better than in the old days, or not as much pride as in the old days?
Well, to me, it don't seem like they have as much pride as they did.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they had got together and got arms and things that they can't get now, I believe in the old days they would have taken over a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's what I believe. Of course, they can get the arms, they can buy the arms and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
South Africa, there's gold, there's a lot of gold there, and they know it's there too. And they're trying to keep control of it. But if they had pride, they go in there and kick them out of there and take that gold for themselves. And then go together and make something big out of it.
In the past, how did black people feel about working for other black people?
Well, there was some of them that didn't like it too much, but here in the United States, but other places seemingly they got along all right.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that people here prefer to work for white people?
Yeah, it seems that way to me.
Mm-hmm. Why do you?
Well, the white man had the money. The black man was trying to get it. And the white man had sense enough. Whenever a black man got up in business and got up very high, they'd put a stumbling block in his rope. They'd put something in his...
In the past, do you think that young people were ashamed of their race?
Well, I'm quite sure that they were.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this is so today?
Not as much as it was 30 years ago. I don't think, because they're not even trying to do anything with what they've got. There's a whole lot of business, black business, right here in the United States. And all they thinking about is selling dope or to make money. The only thing they think about is selling dope and things like that.
Mm-hmm. In the past, how did most people feel about fair-skinned blacks?
Well, there were a lot of people that all say 30 or 40 years ago that felt the difference. They felt like that light-skinned blacks were trying to take advantage of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like it very well.
Were fair-skinned blacks usually better off or worse off than other blacks?
Well, they usually were better off because a lot of them had a chance to get a little education by being light. And that made a big difference.
So you say they had better jobs, better homes? Do you think it's the same way today?
Well, I don't think there is well, I just don't know how to answer that because some of them don't like the right ones, and then there's some of them that are intermarried, you know. And well, you see a lot of it on television, but there are a lot of half-white people on television that everybody seems to look up to them, all right, and they get along, but I don't understand it.
In the old days, what kind of toys did you play with?
Toys?
Did you ever have any black dolls or any black soldiers? Did your sister ever have any black dolls?
I never allowed me to have but one dog. And never had any black soldiers, you know, toys. They were black. All the toys you got were white.
What kind of toys did you have?
I had trains mostly. That was my big thing that I liked, you know, was a train.
Did you know about, or did you ever see any black actors or singers, entertainers?
Yeah, they used to come here.
Really? Where?
At there was a theater there at Mulberry and let's see, Mulberry and Adams and Mulberry. There was
Do you remember any of the entertainers who came?
Oh, they used to come over here and play on Sundays. In Indianapolis, they'd come over. Wiser Grand Theater there. They'd come over here and play on Sundays. Would be here sometime during a season, you know.
You remember who the famous entertainers were? Black entertainers?
That's what I'm trying to get straightened out in my mind. But we got a lot of them from over Indianapolis. They come over on Sundays and go to Wiser Grand or almost any of the big ones you can name.
Huh? You remember seeing any black movies?
No, not when I was. No, I don't think I saw any black movies when I was going to movies. There weren't very many black movies, but oh, if I could call a lot of them you remember. I want to say Bojangles, but it wasn't him. It was. Big movie star. I mean, they weren't movie stars then. They were people in the theater.
Mm-hmm. In the past, how did men and women beautify themselves? What kind of hairstyles did they wear?
Well, the hair styles were taken a good bit from the white man, because all colored women had their hair straightened, you know. Straighter they got it, why, the better they liked it. Up until just recently, now the frizzier they get it, the better they like it. White women go and get their hair fixed now, frizzy.
How do you feel about the new hairstyles?
Well, I guess it's all right. Or I don't have to worry about it.
Do you like the bush hairstyles and the cornrows?
No, I don't like any of them.
No.
Yeah, them great big things all standing all over the head.
You don't like those? Did you ever, how do you feel about, black baby dolls?
Well, they should have been somebody that capitalized on them, you know. That they would probably have made some money, you know, if they'd capitalized on them and put them out. And people would have, I imagine white people would have gone for a lot of it as a novelty.
Mm-hmm.
But they never.
Do you think most black people want to live, work, and go to school with whites?
I really don't know the answer to that. But you see a lot of these white women nowadays, they're just sweeping the Negro man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but even if they don't live with them, why they having babies by them and all that, I just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I guess it's turned around really from what it was in slavery. Well, the white men that took the Negro women in slavery, and now the white women are taking the colored man.
Why do you think that's so? You have any ideas on that?
I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea why they.
How do you think most white people feel about black people today?
They still have that hatred in their heart, I believe. Because, of course, there isn't a whole lot that they can do about it, the way things are now. But deep down in their heart, they still have that hatred in there.
How do you think most white people feel about you, personally?
Well, it's hard to say. I can get along with most anybody, white or black people, because I adjust to it, really. There's all of this, what do they call it, homemakers association. There's 5 or 6 of them come here every week, you know. They don't have to come here. They just, I don't know, there's something that they seem to enjoy, just coming here and sitting down and talking.
Oh, they come here? Homemakers?
And I've had homemakers ever since they've been organized, coming one place or the other. And they always do a good job, but now it looks like they just flock in here, sign my name. I don't know whether they get paid for it or not. Of course they do. I know they get paid, but I don't know why it is that they come in here and sign my name, because there's let me see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's about 6 of them been here already this week.
And these are whites?
Yeah. And I don't think there's but one colored in that homemaker center. She came to my house once down on another Turner Street. But I think she's still with him, because I asked about her the other day. But she don't come.
How do you feel about yourself and your life and what you have been able to accomplish?
Not much. I haven't been able to accomplish not much at all. If I had had an education, I probably would have accomplished something. Just so happened that way. That's all. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
How do you feel about America? The past, present, and the future?
Well, it's too late now for the future, but I don't think I would be around, if I was younger, without being married. I couldn't take it without being married. But I'd have to go back a few years.
But how do you feel about America? Just
America.
Where it's been and
Where it's
where it
going.
is today and where it's gone.
I don't know much about that either.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no telling where it's going. But as I see it, when they get ready to drop that atomic bomb and Russia and the United States drop what they've got at the same time, I think that's the end of this. I really believe that's the end of this world as we know it. Because, of course, a lot of these preachers are preaching that right now, but I don't know. I haven't got a lot of faith in some of these preachers out here over the television. They all want instant rich.
Remember last time I asked you if you had any old pictures or letters or newspaper clippings?
Mm-hmm.
You said you would take a look around and see if you had any.
Yeah, but I haven't. There's some things back there in that back room I'm going to have to take out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll do it in the next.